Hey, good evening, everyone. Welcome to Rainy Night Talk. Let's talk about one word today, neighbor. It is said that a close neighbor is better than a distant relative. But in today's society, the closer you live, the farther your heart is. You may know the gossip about celebrities thousands of miles away, but you don't know the name of your neighbor who is separated by a wall. But have you ever thought that behind the door you take for granted, there might be a secret you never dreamed of? The story we're going to tell today is about the protagonist who met such a mysterious neighbor. The story's protagonist is Leo, a screenwriter who lives in Chicago. Writing a script requires quietness the most, but his former neighbors, a pair of rock and roll youths, threw parties every midnight and tortured him to death. After much anticipation, the play gods finally moved away. The new neighbor moved in soon. Leo peeked through the peephole and, hey, she was a blonde beauty, tall and very stylish. Let's call her Kate. What made Leo even more satisfied was that the new neighbor had a rather strange routine. She went out punctually at 8 every night and came back punctually at 2 in the morning. She was nocturnal and very mysterious. Leo got hooked on this habit, constantly wondering what she did and wondering if he could dig up some creative material from her. The turning point occurred in the middle of the night. Suddenly, there was a jumble of footsteps in the corridor. Leo looked through the peephole, and his heart gave a jolt. Two burly men, who seemed drunk, were carrying his female neighbor on either side, rummaging through her bag for keys. Just as Leo was about to call the police, the door was knocked on. As soon as he opened the door, the two men said, "Kate is drunk and the key is lost. Could she stay on your sofa for the night?" At this point, Leo had no choice but to nod. But as soon as he left, he turned around and his eyes almost popped out. Kate, who had been dead drunk just now, was sitting upright on the sofa with clear eyes, not a hint of intoxication. She gave Leo a mysterious smile and said, "Leo, I'm sorry to disturb you." Then she made a gesture that Leo would never forget for the rest of his life. She took off her high heels, fished out a shiny key from the heel, opened the door, and went home. The whole process was so smooth that it left Leo alone in the living room, completely stunned. From that day on, Leo was distracted and watched Kate come and go through the peephole every day, unable to write a word. A few days later, in the early hours of the morning, Kate came knocking on the door again, this time looking even more flustered, and came in saying she wanted to borrow some books to read. No sooner had she finished speaking than there was another urgent knock on the door. In the blink of an eye, Kate grabbed Leo's face and kissed him without a word, then whispered in his ear, "Open the door. You're looking for me. Don't be afraid." Leo's mind went blank, and he opened the door like a puppet. Two men stood at the door, looking cold. As soon as they saw Leo's face stained with lipstick and then looked at Kate, who was sloppily dressed and leaning against the sofa in the room, they exchanged a contemptuous look, whistled strangely, and left. As soon as they left, Kate regained her composure, walked to the door, said, "Thank you, good night," and went back to her own home. Leo was left alone, as if he were a fool. At this point, even if he is slow-witted, he should understand that he has become a prop used by Kate to deceive others. The next night, a note slipped through the crack of the door in Kate's handwriting, saying she was busy with work and might not come back. Leo felt a sudden weight in his heart and had an ominous premonition. Sure enough, Kate never came back. A few days later, Leo watched the news and a front-page photo made his blood boil instantly. A dashing female agent in an FBI tactical vest with a gun aimed straight ahead. That face was his neighbor, Kate. Caption below the photo reads, "Federal female agent goes undercover to dismantle a large drug cartel and tragically dies in the line of duty." It wasn't long before two FBI agents in suits found Leo. They told Leo the whole truth. It turned out that Kate was an outstanding undercover agent who disguised herself as a courtesan in order to infiltrate the drug cartel. And Leo, the quiet, reclusive screenwriter, is the FBI's carefully selected safe neighbor and the best natural cover. All that he has gone through is not a coincidence, but a series of plays played out by Kate in a critical moment to escape stalking and dispel the suspicion of her enemies. Finally, an agent pulled out a key from the drawer and handed it to Leo, saying, "This is Kate's relic. She mentioned in her final report that she would love to be your neighbor again if she had chance. She said, leave this spare key to her apartment to you as a memento." Leo took the cold key and held it tightly in his palm. The key could no longer open the opposite door. It opened a door in Leo's heart that could never be closed. Behind the door was a woman he could never truly understand, in a real world full of lies, courage, and blood that he narrowly missed. All he wanted was a neighbor to tell his story in peace, but life gave him a truth that was deeper and heavier than any story. He could no longer write the previous fictional police and gangster stories, because he knew that true heroes would not wear capes. They might live right next door to you, in a most ordinary form, doing the greatest things, even to the point of sacrifice. You wouldn't know her name. So this city is like a bottomless ocean, and each of us is a fish in the water, occasionally seeing each other's scales flash in the light, but never knowing what undercurrents and struggles the other is going through beneath the surface. The next time you hear the sound of your neighbor closing the door in the corridor, perhaps you can imagine a little more. You never know if behind that faint sound there is an unnamed hero who has just finished an unknown battle and returned to the world in silence. Well, that's all for today's story. Thank you all for listening. This is Rainy Night Talk. We'll talk next time.